The first time I saw it, I thought it was compression. You know how security cameras glitch sometimes. Blocky shadows, blurry edges, strange artifacts near door frames. It was 2:18 p.m. when I checked the notification. Motion detected, front door. I was at work. I opened the app. The thumbnail showed my apartment door from the hallway. Camera. And something felt wrong immediately. The door wasn't fully closed. Not wide open. Not even noticeably. Open. Just slightly. Like the latch hadn't caught properly. A thin dark line between the door and the frame. Zoomed in. The timestamp read 2 hours 17 minutes and 6 seconds p.m. The hallway was empty. Fluorescent ceiling lights. Neutral beige walls. My door. With a narrow, visible gap. My stomach tightened. I replayed the clip. The door looked fully closed at 2 hours 16 minutes and 58 seconds. Then at 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds, the image shifted. Not dramatically, but the door appeared slightly ajar. No visible hand. No visible movement. Just different. Like a single frame had changed. At 2 hours 17 minutes and 10 seconds. The motion alert triggered. Human presence detected. But the hallway was empty. No footsteps. No shadow. No reflection. Just the door. Slightly open. I checked the smart lock log. No unlock event. No entry. No manual override. Lock status. Secured. I leaned back in my office chair, trying to rationalize it. Perspective shift. Camera angle distortion. Lens warping. I texted my neighbor. Hey, can you check if my door is closed? He responded 5 minutes later. Yeah, it's closed. Fully? Yeah. I stared at the still image again. That gap looked real. It didn't look like distortion. It looked like the door had been opened just enough to break the seal. I dismissed it. Closed the app. Told myself it was nothing. Until the next day, 2:17 p.m. Another notification. Motion detected. Front door. My pulse jumped. I opened it immediately. Same thing. Hallway empty. Door slightly ajar. Exactly the same. Narrow gap. Not more. Not less. Identical. I overlaid yesterday's screenshot with today's. The gap was the same width. Same lighting. Same shadow. Same angle. Even the shadow under the door looked identical. That's when it stopped feeling random. I checked the smart lock again. No unlock event. Battery normal. Firmware updated. No forced entry alerts. I left work early. Drove home. Stood in the hallway in front of my apartment. The door was closed. Flush with the frame. No gap. No movement. I unlocked it manually. Went inside. Checked the hinges. No LOOSENESS. No warped frame. No latch issue. I pulled the door closed gently. It sealed perfectly. No visible light through the edge. I opened the camera app and switched to live view. The feed showed the door closed. Completely closed. I stepped back inside my apartment and shut it. Watched the feed again. Still closed. Normal. At 6:04 p.m. Another motion alert triggered. This time because I opened the door. Normal. Expected. Nothing strange. I tried to forget about it. Until day 3. 2:17 p.m. Motion detected. Front door. I didn't hesitate this time. Opened the feed immediately. Empty hallway. Door slightly open. Same. Gap. Same width. Same timestamp range. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Subtle shift. 2 hours 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Motion detected. 2 hours 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Event ends. 40 seconds. Exactly. The same duration every day. 40 seconds. The lock log still showed. No entry. No unlock. No manual override. That's when I noticed something new. In the corner of the camera interface, a small status label I had never seen before. Door state. Open. Unverified. Unverified. I stared at it. The lock insisted it was closed. The camera insisted it was open, and every day at 2:17 p.m., for exactly 40 seconds, the system believed the door wasn't sealed. I checked my calendar. Every day at 2:17 p.m. I was at work. Same desk. Same office. Badge logs could prove it, which meant if the door was opening, it wasn't me. That night, I replayed all 3 clips side by side. They were identical, frame for frame. Not similar. Identical. As if the same video had been inserted into the feed. But the timestamps were live. Metadata showed unique session IDs. New file hashes, not duplicated, real-time captures. I zoomed in further. And that's when I saw something I hadn't noticed before. At the exact moment the door appears to open, the shadow along the inner edge of the frame darkens slightly. As if something inside the apartment is blocking light from within. Not outside. Inside. I leaned closer to my phone screen. The hallway lights didn't change. The camera exposure didn't fluctuate. Only the inner seam of the door. As if something were standing just behind it. Not opening it fully, just enough to create a gap, then closing it again. After 40 seconds. The next day, I set an alarm for 2:15 p.m. At 2:16, I opened the app. Live view of the hallway. The door was fully closed. 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 58 seconds. Still closed. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 2 seconds. Still closed. 2:17:03. The image glitched for a split second, and when it corrected, the gap was there. My heart started pounding. The door hadn't physically moved. There was no motion. No sound. But the camera image had shifted. As if the state of the door had changed without the door moving. Motion detected. The hallway remained empty. I stared at the feed the entire 40 seconds. Nothing moved and no one walked by. No reflection in the metal trim. Nothing. Then at 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 43 seconds, the image corrected again. The door appeared fully sealed. The motion alert ended. I checked the smart lock. Still secured. No entry. No unlock. No attempt. That was the moment I realized something worse than a break-in. The door wasn't being opened. The system believed it was open, and only at that specific time, 2:17 p.m. Every afternoon, for 40 seconds. And whatever the camera thought it saw, it was coming from inside. I ordered a second camera that night. Not for the hallway, for inside the apartment. If the hallway camera believed the door was open, I wanted proof from the other side. It arrived the next morning. I mounted it on a shelf, facing the interior side of the front door. Wide angle. Clear resolution. Cloud recording enabled. By 2:15 p.m. I was ready. I sat at my desk at work with both camera feeds open side by side. Left, hallway camera. Right, interior camera. 2:16:58. Both feeds showed the door fully closed. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered for a fraction of a second. And when it stabilized, the gap appeared. Thin vertical shadow along the latch side. The interior feed did not change. The door looked sealed. No visible gap. No light. Shift. No movement. The motion alert triggered on the hallway camera. The interior camera did not detect motion. No alert. No pixel variation. I leaned closer to my screen. On the hallway side, the shadow was clearly visible. On the interior side, nothing. The door frame looked perfectly flush. 2:17:12. The hallway feed showed a slightly darker seam near the latch. The interior feed showed uniform lighting. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 26 seconds. Still no movement on either camera. But the hallway feed still insisted the door was open. 2:17:43. The hallway feed flickered again. The gap vanished. The motion alert ended. The interior feed never changed. The door never moved. I replayed both recordings simultaneously. There was no desync. No timing lag. Both feeds were perfectly aligned, but they disagreed. The hallway camera believed the door opened. The interior camera insisted never did. That night, I checked the raw metadata. Hallway camera event. Motion trigger. Door state change confidence. 82% interior camera event. No motion detected. Confidence. 98%. So one camera was confident something changed. The other was confident nothing did. The next day, I tried something else. At 2:14 p.m., I remotely unlocked the door from the app. The smart lock clicked. The hallway camera detected door unlocked. The interior camera recorded the latch shifting slightly. Everything matched. I relocked it. The feeds agreed again, which meant the system could correctly detect a real unlock event. But at 2:17, it was detecting something else. On day 5, I took off work early. I stood inside my apartment at 2:16 p.m., watching the interior camera live on my phone. 2:17. 2. Nothing. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. The gap appeared. I was standing inside, right in front of the door. The interior feed showed me standing there. The door closed. No movement. I placed my hand flat against the door. Solid. Sealed. The hallway feed still showed a narrow opening. And then something changed. On the hallway feed, 4. Just one frame, I saw a slight distortion near the seam. Not a figure, not a shadow, just a subtle dark shape, occupying the gap, like something was filling the space between the door and the frame. Then it disappeared. The gap remained. 40 seconds. Later, the hallway feed corrected. The gap vanished. The motion event ended. The interior feed never changed. The door never moved. But that single distorted frame bothered me. It wasn't random compression noise. It had shape. Not defined, but present. I exported the footage and zoomed in frame by frame. At 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 11 seconds, there it was. Faint shift in the shadow gradient. As if something was standing directly behind the door, blocking interior light from leaking through the seam. But from the inside, there was no light leaking at all. Which meant one of two things. Either the hallway camera was wrong, or the interior camera wasn't seeing something. On day 6, I checked the system logs more closely. There was something I had missed. Every day at 2:17 p.m., the hallway camera switched briefly from hallway priority to door state focus. A micro adjustment in exposure, a software setting that normally activates when a door physically moves. But the lock logs showed no movement, and the interior camera showed none either. I called customer support. Again. Have you changed any door detection sensitivity settings? The rep asked. No. Have you updated firmware? No. There's a feature called predictive motion modeling. What's that? It anticipates likely movement based on historical data. Is it active? There was a pause. Yes. Since when? 14 days ago. My stomach tightened. 14 days. The same day the first unexplained event happened. What does predictive modeling do exactly? I asked. It learns the environment, normal patterns, common movements. It can pre-adjust exposure and detection zones. Can it create a false door open state? Not intentionally. Can it misinterpret internal motion as door displacement? It's possible. Internal motion. The phrase lingered. What kind of internal motion? I asked. Air pressure changes. Footsteps near the door. Weight shifts. But I'm not home at 2:17 p.m. Silence. That's what makes this unusual, the rep said carefully. The next day, I did something different. At 2:16 p.m. I left the apartment completely. No one inside. Interior camera confirmed empty. I stood in the hallway, Watching the hallway feed live. 2 colon 17 colon 02. The door was closed. 2 colon 17 colon 03. The image flickered. The gap appeared. I was standing 5 feet away from the door. In real life, it did not move. It remained sealed. Flush. Perfect. But on my phone, the door was slightly open. And for the first time, standing physically in the hallway, I noticed something subtle. A faint change in air pressure. Like the door seal. Flex. Not enough to open. Not enough to hear. Just a tiny shift. The motion alert. Triggered. 2 hours 17 minutes and 10 seconds. Human presence detected. But I was the only person there. I looked at the hallway feed. The gap shadow darkened slightly, as if something on the other side of the door had shifted closer. I leaned toward the door in real life, pressed my ear lightly against it. Silence. Complete. Silence. 2 colon 17 colon 43. The feed flickered. The gap disappeared. The alert ended. The door never moved. But something had changed in the system's understanding of it, and it only happened at 2:17. Exactly. For 40 seconds. Every day. And now I knew something else. It wasn't random. It wasn't glitching. It was consistent. The system believed someone was standing just behind the door. From the inside. At 2:17 p.m. every afternoon, even when no one was home. If the cameras disagreed, I needed something neutral. Something that didn't rely on image processing. So I bought 2 things: a digital air quality monitor and a smart pressure sensor. Nothing extreme, just consumer-grade devices. I placed the air monitor on the console table near the door. The pressure sensor I positioned directly above the door frame. If someone was physically opening the door, even slightly, the air pressure would change. If someone was breathing inside, CO levels might shift. Felt ridiculous setting it up, like I was investigating something that wasn't even real. But by now, it wasn't about the door. It was about consistency. The pattern had never broken. 2:17 p.m. 40 seconds. Every day. Day 7. At 2:15 p.m., I opened every live feed. Hallway camera. Interior camera. Air quality dashboard. Pressure sensor graph. The apartment was empty. I was at work. AP59.co. Steady at 612 ppm. Air pressure stable. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. The gap appeared. Motion detected. The interior feed unchanged. The air monitor reading shifted, not dramatically, from 612 ppm to 629 ppm. In less than 3 seconds. I leaned forward in my chair. Co. Doesn't spike without cause. Human exhalation is the most common indoor source. The pressure sensor graph ticked slightly upward. 0.02K. PA shift. Tiny. But measurable. The door hadn't moved. The interior camera showed nothing but the air inside. My apartment had changed. 2 hours 17 minutes and 9 seconds. Co climbed again. 0.642 ppm. That's not random fluctuation. That's input. 2 colon 17 colon 18.653 ppm. The hallway cameras. Door state. Open unverified. Label remained active. The interior feed still showed an empty apartment. 2 colon 17 colon 26.coa peaked at 667 ppm. Then stabilized. The pressure reading remained slightly elevated. 2 colon 17 colon 43. The hallway feed corrected. The gap vanished. The motion alert ended. Co. began dropping gradually, back toward baseline. Pressure normalized. Total duration 40 seconds. Exactly. I replayed the environmental logs. The spike was clean, not jagged like HVAC cycling. Not random like air conditioning turning on. It looked like a presence. Measured and sustained. As if someone had stood near the door. Breathing. Then left. but no one entered. No lock event. No interior movement. No visible figure. Day 8. I tested airflow variables. Turned off HVAC completely. Closed vents. No fans running. 2:17 p.m. The same spike. Coe. Jumped. Pressure shifted. Door camera showed the gap. Interior camera showed nothing. The only thing consistent across all data. There was a change inside the apartment, exactly at 2:17 p.m., and it lasted 40 seconds. I exported the air monitor logs and overlaid them with the motion alerts. The curves aligned perfectly. Spike begins at 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Peak at 2 hours 17 minutes and 26 seconds. Return to baseline by 2:17:43. It wasn't random. It wasn't drift. It wasn't background fluctuation. It was timed. I called support again. This time I didn't mention cameras. I asked about presence detection modeling. The engineer on the line spoke carefully. Our system can combine motion data with environmental changes, so it doesn't need visual confirmation? Not necessarily. Could it interpret CO rise as a person near the door? In theory, yes. What if the camera doesn't see them? If environmental confidence is high enough, the system may still flag occupancy. My chest felt tight, so it believes someone is standing behind the door. Yes, but there's no one. Silence. Have you confirmed that physically? He asked. Yes. You've been inside during the event? Yes. And the CO still rises? Yes. That pause was longer. Then the system is detecting a consistent internal source. Internal source. Not intruder. Not break dash in source. On day 9, I changed my schedule. Instead of being at work, I stayed home. At 2:16 p.m., I stepped outside my apartment. Closed the door. Stood in the hallway. Interior camera confirmed empty unit. Coe. Baseline. Steady. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Hallway feed flickered. The gap appeared. I stared at the door. Physically. It did not move. But the air monitor inside, visible through the app, spiked again. 612 gives 645 ppm. Pressure increased slightly. The system labeled human presence detected, interior. But I was outside. I was in the hallway. There was no one inside, and yet the air inside the apartment changed. I felt a slow, cold realization form. The system wasn't reacting to a door opening. It was reacting to a presence forming inside, specifically near the door. And that presence existed whether I was home or not. On day 10, something changed. At 2:17 p.m., the spike began as usual, but this time, the interior camera did something subtle. The exposure adjusted slightly. As if compensating for shadow. For one frame. The scene between the door and the frame appeared darker on the interior feed. Not a gap, just a darker line. Then it normalized. The CO reading peaked at 671 ppm. Higher than previous days. And the hallway feed showed something I hadn't seen before. For half a second, a faint shift in reflection on the metal hinge, like someone was standing very close to the door from the inside. Not opening it. Just there. Breathing. And then, at 2 hours 17 minutes and 43 seconds, everything reset. Baseline. Normal. Empty. I reviewed the air data again. The spike was increasing each day. By small increments, but increasing, which meant something was stabilizing. The system wasn't glitching. It was measuring something consistent, and that something was inside my apartment. Every afternoon. At 2:17 for 40 seconds. And the more days passed, the stronger the environmental confirmation became, which meant eventually the camera might not need to verify. The door stayed at all. Because the system would no longer label it unverified. It would label it simply open. Day 11. I didn't wait for 2:17. I armed the system in away mode at 2:10 p.m. If anything inside triggered presence detection, The alarm should respond. Interior camera active. Door sensor active. Auto lock enabled. 2 hours 16 minutes and 59 seconds. Everything normal. Co. Steady. Door sealed. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. The gap appeared. Motion detected. The alarm did not trigger. Instead, something else happened. The smart lock status changed. Lock reinforcement active. Reinforcement? That wasn't a feature I had enabled. I watched the live feed. The door remained closed physically, but the system log updated. Interior occupancy. Confirm my stomach tightened. Confirmed. Not unverified. Confirmed. Co. Rose again. Pressure shifted, and then I heard it. A faint click. Not from the hallway. From inside the door. The lock mechanism engaged. Harder than usual. As if deadbolt torque increased. The app displayed. Auto secure engaged. Interior presence protected. Protected. From what? I was outside, standing in the hallway. The system believed someone was inside, and it had just locked the door to protect them. 2 hours 17 minutes and 21 seconds. The hallway camera feed showed the narrow gap darken further, like someone was standing closer to the door. From the inside, I pressed my hand against the door. Solid. Locked. I tried the handle gently. It didn't move. The lock had engaged fully. A Y32. Co. Peaked again. Higher than before. 2 hours 17 minutes and 43 seconds. The hallway feed corrected. The gap vanished. Motion alert ended. The air readings normalized. The app log updated. Interior presence. Session closed session. I stood there in the hallway. The door still locked. I opened the app to unlock it remotely. The button was grayed out. Remote unlock disabled during active occupancy. My throat went dry. The system believed someone was inside, and it was preventing me from entering. It took another 15 seconds before the unlock function returned. I tapped it. The deadbolt clicked. I entered the apartment slowly. The interior camera feed showed me walking in. The label read, External entry, visitor. I stopped moving. The label remained. Visitor. The air monitor was back to baseline. Pressure normal. Everything looked exactly as I left it. Nothing out of place. No sound. No disturbance. But the system log was clear. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. Presence formed. 2 hours 17 minutes and 5 seconds. Lock reinforced. 2 hours 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Session closed. Day 12. I stayed inside at 2:16 p.m. Door sealed. System armed. I stood in the center of the living room, watching the interior camera feed on my phone. 2 hours 17 minutes and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. Gap appeared. Co. Rose. Pressure shifted. The lock clicked again, but this time it locked while I was inside. The app displayed, Interior occupant verified. The label on the live feed did not attach to me. It appeared at the door, exactly at the seam, like the system was anchoring presence to that location. 2 hours 17 minutes and 12 seconds. The lock engaged a second time. As if reinforcing. I tried the handle from inside. It didn't move. The deadbolt was fully extended. I hadn't commanded it. 2 hours 17 minutes and 21 seconds. The interior camera exposure shifted slightly. The seam of the door looked darker. Not open. Just darker. As if someone were standing directly behind it. From my side. Between me and the door. But I could see the door clearly. Nothing there. The label. Read. Primary occupant. Interior. I looked down at my phone. There was no label for me. No movement tag. No identity marker. The system wasn't assigning me as the occupant. It had chosen the anchor point at the door. 2:17:43. Everything reset. The lock disengaged. The air normalized. The label disappeared. I stepped toward the door slowly. Place my hand flat against it. Cold, solid, sealed, day 13. I tried something else. At 2:16 p.m. I wedged a folded piece of paper between the door and the frame from the inside. If the door opened even slightly, the paper would fall. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. Gap appeared. Rose. Pressure shifted. The paper did not move. It remained pinned in place. The door did not open physically. And yet the hallway feed clearly showed a visible gap. Not huge, but real enough to see. I leaned toward the interior camera feed. At 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 18 seconds. For just one frame, the seam on the interior feed darkened more than usual. As if the camera exposure was adjusting to something close to the lens. Then it normalized. The paper remained. The door remained. Sealed. 2:17:43. Reset. I checked the log. New entry. Interior anchor stability, 94%. It had never shown a percentage before. Stability. Like the presence was becoming more consistent, more defined. I sat down slowly, trying to think rationally. What could cause a repeated CO spike? What could? 'Cause pressure changes without door movement. What could trigger a lock reinforcement without command? The answer was always the same. Presence detection modeling. The system was combining multiple data streams and concluding someone was inside. But that someone wasn't visible, wasn't unlocking the door, wasn't moving furniture, wasn't walking, just standing at the door. For 40 seconds, every afternoon. And now, the system was protecting them. Day 14. I didn't go to work. I wanted to be there when it happened. Not watching through an app. Not reading logs. Physically present. At 2:10 p.m. I stepped outside my apartment, closed the door behind me, locked it manually. Stood in the hallway with my phone in my hand. Interior camera showed the empty apartment. Stable. Pressure. Normal. 2 hours, 16 minutes, and 59 seconds. Nothing. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 3 seconds. The hallway feed flickered. The gap appeared. Exactly the same width as every previous day. The motion alert triggered. The lock clicked. But this time, it didn't just reinforce. It engaged fully. Deadbolt torque increased audibly. My phone vibrat. Interior. Occupant verified. Priority mode. Enable priority mode. That was new. The app interface changed slightly. The unlock button disappeared, replaced by access restricted during protected occupancy. I stared at the screen. Protected occupancy. I grabbed the handle and turned it gently. Locked. I tried again. Harder. Nothing. 2:17:12. Spike began inside. 612. Give 641 ppm. Pressure shift. The hallway feed showed the gap. Darkened slightly. As if something were standing very close behind the door. From the inside. I pressed my ear lightly against it. Silence. No footsteps. No breathing. Nothing. But the environmental monitor insisted the air inside was changing. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 26 seconds. The app log updated. Primary occupant. Interior stable. External presence. Unverified external presence. That was me. Standing in the hallway. The system no longer labeled me as owner. No longer labeled me as resident. Just external. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 32 seconds. The gap in the hallway feed appeared slightly wider for a single frame. Just one. Then it returned to its usual narrow line. I physically examined the door. It had not moved. The seam was flush. Perfect. But on the camera, it was open. 2 hours, 17 minutes, and 43 seconds. The hallway feed corrected. The gap vanished. Motion alert ended. Began to drop. Pressure normalized. But the lock did not disengage. I checked the app. The unlock option was still disabled. The status remained protected occupancy active. I waited 10 seconds. 20. 30. Finally, at 2 hours 18 minutes and 11 seconds, the lock disengaged automatically. The unlock button reappeared. Tapped it. The deadbolt retracted. I opened the door slowly, stepped inside. The interior camera showed me entering. Label: Visitor Entry Logged Visitor. Again, I closed the door behind me. The app displayed Visitor Present. Non-primary. Throat went dry. Non-primary. The system had decided. The anchor point at the door, the presence that formed every day at 2:17, was now the primary occupant. And I was not. Day 15. I left at 2:10 p.m. Again, closed the door. Waited in the hallway. 2:17:03. Gap appeared. Lock engaged. Co. Spike. Pressure. Shift. But this time, at 2 hours 17 minutes and 18 seconds, the lock engaged a second time. Harder. Longer. My phone vibrated urgently. Interior occupancy confirmed. Ownership verification suspended. Ownership suspended. I stared at the words. The unlock function was gone entirely. No button. No override. No manual code option. I tried my physical key. The key turned halfway. Then stopped. The deadbolt would not retract. I stepped back from the door. Slowly. 2:17:43. The hallway feed reset. The gap vanished. The motion alert ended. But the lock remained engaged. I waited. 2 hours 18 minutes and 30 seconds. Nothing. 2 hours 19 minutes and 0 seconds. Still locked. The app displayed unit secured, primary occupant present. Inside, I called support. The automated system responded first. Please confirm your identity. I entered my account credentials. Your account is currently classified as secondary. Secondary. For access to primary verification, please stand inside the unit. I laughed once. Short. Dry. I can't. The door won't open. Access is restricted while protected occupancy is active. The call disconnected. I stood in the hallway, listening to the quiet hum of fluorescent lights. My apartment door in front of me. Sealed. According to the system, someone was inside, and that someone had higher priority than me. 2:21 p.m. My phone VIBRATED. New notification. Motion detected. Interior. I opened the feed. The interior camera showed the empty living room. The door. Closed. The label read Primary. Interior. But for a split second, the seam on the inside of the door darkened. Just slightly. As if something were standing inches away, facing outward. 2:21:43. The motion alert ended, and the lock finally disengaged. The key turned smoothly. The deadbolt retracted. I opened the door, stepped inside. The air monitor was back to baseline. The pressure steady. Everything looked normal. No signs of intrusion. No disturbance. Nothing out of place. But when I checked the system log, there was a new permanent entry. Primary occupant registered. Interior anchor. Secondary occupant registered. External access no. TIMESTAMP. No expiration. Permanent. That night at 2:17 a.m. My phone vibrated again. No motion alert. No door event. Just a quiet notification. Interior presence detected. I was lying in bed, inside the apartment. The interior camera showed the door. Closed. Sealed. But the label read Primary interior stable, and for the first time, there was no gap in the hallway feed. No visual anomaly. No flicker. The system didn't need visual confirmation anymore. It no longer tried to show the door open. It simply recorded presence. Inside. 40 seconds every day. And now twice a day. 2:17 p.m. 2:17 a.m. Exactly. 40. Seconds. Protected. Verified. Stable. And according to the system, the apartment has been occupied ever since. By someone. Standing just behind the door. Every afternoon. Waiting.